Live.
Cool. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Hump Day Hangouts. This is episode 285. All right, we're getting there. We're getting close to 300. That's pretty awesome. I bet we're going to blink our eyes. It's going to be 400 and then 500 after that. Who knows? Hump Day Hangouts forever and ever. When we reach episode 1000, I'll probably be in my walker, but maybe we'll still be doing it live. So we'll see how it goes. All right, moving past that back into reality. Going to say hi to the guys real quick. We got some announcements. The Battle Plan version 4.0 came out today. So if you haven't yet, go pick that up at battleplan.semanticmastery.com. We also got some crazy good deals. We got some awesome bonuses in there. I'm not going to read them out to you. You guys can find them at battleplan.semanticmastery.com. With that said, let's start here on my left. I see Bradley first. So Bradley, you're up, man. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm happy to be here. Happy that the Battle Plan 4 is out. It's much more condensed and simplified this year than the previous versions. I think it makes it a lot easier for people because we basically just walk through the bundles and why it's important and how it applies for pretty much any sort of project now, which makes it a lot easier because, and I mentioned this in one of the Facebook Live videos I'd done, but to announce that it was coming out, that the problem before was that we had talked about all the different components and things that we suggest or recommend to get results. But the problem was that, most of the time people would skip steps and not implement everything. And then they'd say, oh, well, this doesn't work. And upon further investigation, we would find out that they didn't do everything. And so when we set out to update Battle Plan 4 for 2020, we decided that, well, first of all, we had the product bundles in MGYB, and we did that on purpose. But that's what we really wanted to kind of promote, is why those bundles are the way that why we have them set up, so that you don't miss anything. It just makes it so much easier. And so the Battle Plan is a hell of a lot more simplified, and simple is good. It doesn't mean that it's not effective. It just means it's easy to implement based upon the Battle Plan. So certainly recommend anybody to go pick that up if you haven't yet.
Definitely. And I think what you said about being simple, I think I'll pass it off to Marco next, because Marco, what do you generally say about stuff being easy and simple? I think you got something to say.
It's not simple, but it doesn't have to be complicated.
Yep.
It's not easy because, guys, a lot of hours work. I mean, blood, sweat, and tears went into this thing. It's not as if we just one day out of the blue said, oh, let's do an SEO battle plan. It's a lot of thought into that. Although it's whittled down so that even a person who's not in the industry can understand it, it's not easy. But the way that we've simplified it makes it so much better for you guys to just go in order. I mean, if you guys don't have the time to go through all of our training, you should still be a member of one of our groups. I mean, without question, because then you can come in and tag us personally in the Facebook group and ask the question directly. One of us will jump in and help you answer the question right at that moment. You don't have to wait once a week to maybe get into a Hump Day Hangout and get into a question, and maybe we have time to answer the question. No, we focus on our people, our paying members. That's the way it has to be. I mean, with Marco's baby got to eat, man. And so, dude, that's the way it's just got to be. But let me go back to the Battle Plan. It's simplified. It's whittled down. It's go there and take action. And let me tell each one of you guys, and I'm going to do it myself, pat yourself on the back. No, because I had my mastermind meeting yesterday, my mini mastermind meeting. And what we did was just go over, I guess, as an encouragement, right? Because it's accountability. It's an encouragement to one another. And people started showing their results. And I'm like, holy crap. These guys are ranking in a metropolitan area for like 10, 12 million people. Number one for the market level keyword. I'm not talking about long tails. Because long tails, I think, are unbelievably easy to rank for. But we're talking about the market level keyword, where the money is, guys. So not only was he showing that, then I get, Ed Gelb, Bradley. Mm-hmm. I think you know him personally. I know him personally also. But he's ranking for the market level keyword in his area. And then we got another one of our mastermind members who's killing it for attorneys. Attorney SEO. We all know how difficult that is, correct? Truck accidents, wrongful death, you name it, criminal law. And the guy has his clients number one. I got another guy showing he's getting massive results from whatever he's doing. He's in Colorado, by the way, Adam. I know you love, you guys all love Colorado. But he's getting unbelievable results. Okay, how are they doing this shit? How? I'm the master of subtlety. Guess how the fuck they're doing it? Take a guess. I'll leave it at that.
Well, Marco, we left out one very important thing. How's the weather down there?
Can't you tell? It's actually cloudy.
Not overwhelming with brightness today.
This is what passes in Costa Rica for cloudy. And we are in the middle of the rainy season. It was beautiful this morning. It'll rain. It's a little cold, right? Cold for me. It's 72 degrees. So, but you guys in the US, what is it? I mean, outside the US, it's like 20, 22. It's chilly, man. You feel it. You feel it in your bones when you get older.
That's tough. Well, I'm glad you suffer through that for the rest of us. Hernan, how you doing, man?
Good, man. I'm muted. And now Humpy says that you need to go get the battle plan because battle plan 4.0, it's out. So you need to go get it. So I'm really excited about that, man. Really excited about the fourth version of the battle plan, and it's been getting better and better as we go by. So really excited about that. Really excited to be here.
Did you call that thing Humpy?
Humpy, man.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, Chris, how about yourself, man? How you doing?
Yeah, I'm actually proud and happy that it's warmer than in Costa Rica here. That's a new one. And regarding the battle plan, I also have bad news for some people. I'm not sure if they're gonna be sad or like upset or so, but I mean, like Bradley actually mentioned it already. And I'm gonna hit at it like I usually do. The question is like, do you mean that I have to spend more money after I purchase the battle plan to actually execute it? And the answer is yes, you will. If you want to execute all the steps, you will have to spend more money to actually get to the results. But as Marco said, it's going to be like the really good results and not some long tail bullshit keyword where you actually don't need our battle plan for that stuff. So yeah, blowing it out here.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah. And also I always come back to the, you got time or money. And hopefully you start leaning towards bringing in more money, reinvest that, start doing that stuff. That's what we've done. That's where we see the fastest growth. And, sometimes if you don't, then you roll up your sleeves and you fucking do it yourself. But as soon as you can, you bring on the team to do it, you automate it and you do what you can. So I think Chris has a real good point.
Well, it's mindset, isn't it?
Yeah, man.
Okay.
It's
how
an
much
investment.
money? So guys, how much money do I have to spend? Well, no, you're already starting off on the wrong foot. That's not the POFU mindset. The POFU mindset says that you're making an investment in your future, into what it is that you're going to do, into being successful. And yes, of course, there are failures along the road to success. Use those as stepping stones, as I mentioned in our POFU Live 2019, in my POFU Live 2019 presentation. Right, so you take that as a stepping stone. But the whole thing is invest on yourself, because the only way that you're going to grow your agency, the only way that you're going to make money online is if you actually learn how to implement methods that are already successful. Not because somebody's telling you that they're successful, because you can come into our mastermind. Of course, you have to be a paying member and talk to the people in there who are killing it and say, well, who here is successful? I'll bring you into my mini mastermind and let you see who's successful. I'll show you case studies that show success. But it's taking that first step and say, okay, let me, it's $17. That's all it is. You can't spend more. It depends on how far you go down the funnel. But that's all it is initially. From there, yes, you do have to spend, because we spent a whole lot of money creating the bundles, the ad ID page, the SEO PowerShell. I'm not going to go into details. Guys, if you don't know what it is, go to MGYB.co, look it up. It's all explained in there. But it's an investment. So who isn't willing, if you know, okay, I'm going to get at least a 2-to-1, 3-to-1, 4-to-1 return on my investment if I go and take action. Because the key here is it's not just getting the battle plan and reading it and saying, okay, let me see what I can do. No, it's going and doing. Do the do that we do, and success is right there. Give you the keys to the kingdom. give you the keys to the kingdom, guys. Whether you take the key and you have to go put it in the fucking lock and turn the key, man. Please. I don't know what else to say, man. I'm done.
All right.
Bye. See you next week.
Quick follow up, Marco. I think this is interesting, and maybe we could do this with mastermind members. I might talk on my next one, on my next mastermind webinar, or we could potentially maybe for 2X your agency as well. But it's getting with people. I think we've all been there at one point in our life. I'll only speak for myself, and I know I've heard Bradley talk about this though, is taking on projects, you know, and learning the hard way where, you know, the price didn't make sense. It's like, hey, I got this client, they're paying me $500 a month, but you didn't do the math to say, is this worth my time? And so getting into the details of that is important, and you can learn, you know, the tough way. But, you know, sometimes going through that beforehand and then saying, hey, does this project even make sense for me to try to do some SEO for this person? And then realizing too late, like, no, it isn't. Or it's your own project and you realize, shit, I've invested 200 hours of my own time and this is going to make me $50 a month. What the hell am I doing? So that's an important skill to have with any of this.
Yeah, also like on the affiliate case study that I did, like, I don't know, 1.5 years on the old battle plan, not on the new one. I think within like the first 3 weeks, I doubled my investment. And like by now I think at 20x or like even higher. I don't have the exact numbers in mind, but like it definitely pays off if you sit down and actually execute it step by step and do it all.
Cool. Well, with that said, we do have some questions. So if you guys want to find out about worryless SEO, if you want to get faster results, you don't want to worry about updates or algorithms, go grab the battle plan at battleplan.semanticmastery.com. So with that, you guys good? Should we get into the questions?
Let's do it.
Grab the screen. Confirm that you guys are seeing it.
Roger.
Okay. Let's see. There we go. All right. Looks like reset. Looks like we're going to start with one of the questions from Wayne. Okay. Yeah, this was posted in the free Facebook group, and it's a great question. So thank you for this, Wayne. He says, in light of what has happened to business confidence due to the pandemic, what would you do differently in your agency business once the economy starts back up and consumer confidence goes back to normal? This can almost be viewed as a sort of reset. To clarify, maybe it's not buyers' confidence in agencies per se, but buyers' confidence in themselves and their ability to make good buying decisions. And I think that's a great question. I know something that I've thought a lot about recently over the past month or so is how to, like, how I'm going to do that, how I'm going to start prospecting again for, in my case, tree service contractors. Once this, although there's a lot of tree service contractors still working right now, and let me explain what I'm about to say. One of the things I want to do is reduce my rates, at least initially. So perhaps, and the reason I say that is because a lot of business owners are a bit gun shy right now, or hesitant to spend money, at least from business owners that I've talked to, because they're hurting for money now. Their revenue has either completely disappeared or significantly dropped. And so when the economy gets back to normal, which it's going to be quite some time before we ever get back to fully normal. But when it starts to open back up and business transactions start to pick up and volume picks up and everything else, I think at least my opinion is that people are going to be a lot more hesitant to spend money, or if they do, they're going to want, some sort of assurances and that kind of stuff. Now, again, this is speculation, my assumption of what's going to happen. So for me personally, one of the things that I've been doing for the last about 6 weeks, I started on it about 6 weeks ago, but I'm actually talking about this in the mastermind for the last several mastermind webinars that I've hosted, that I'm trying to systematize my much of the complex work that I have always done myself, so that I can outsource that or delegate that to somebody that's paid $4 or $5 an hour versus my own time. So in other words, whenever I take on a new client, I've always done the onboarding and most of the setup myself. So because of that, I charge a very high setup rate or setup fee for new clients, typically in the neighborhood of $3,000 on the front end, and then anywhere between $1,000 to $1,500 a month for like tree service contractors, for example. but that's the reason I've based my setup fee, is because I know how much work I put into the actual setup, setting up a new website or restructuring an existing site, excuse me. You know, optimizing GMB, setting up all the entity assets, the SEO shield, essentially, syndication network, all that stuff, getting the content marketing schedule or plan developed for my blogger. I do all of that myself, or have been throughout my entire career. And so I charge a lot for that because it takes me a lot of time to do all that setup work. And the reason I've never delegated that before was because it is so complex, the amount of work that goes into all the setup that I do, that I've never wanted to take the time to develop processes for all of that. Well, because of the 2X your agency training, the double your agency training, I talk about setting up systems, and I have for much of my business, but that portion of it, the onboarding and the setup for new clients, I've always done myself. And so I always charged accordingly because it's my time that I'm investing into it, and it gets done well and it works for the client. Like, it produces results. But again, it's a lot of my time. And so I want to be compensated for that. And so I charge that sort of a fee. So one of the things that I've been striving to do, and again, I was prompted to do this because of the 2X your agency training, was I wanted to systematize even that. I talk about it in the training, guys. And I got this from Adam, and it's been ingrained into my head now, but automate, delegate, or eliminate, right? So if I can't automate the setup, I want to delegate it or eliminate it entirely. In this case, I want to learn how, I want to delegate it. So I've been working for the last month, really started about 6 weeks ago, but for the last month, I've been working on trying to systematize my onboarding and setup processes. And it's an enormous amount of work. In fact, when I first learned how to develop standard operating procedures, or SOPs, that the first time I learned, the first thing that I systematized was building syndication networks. That later became Syndication Academy. So, you know, and it took me 3 months to develop those processes. Now I'm better at developing processes, but this is an enormous amount of work as well. And so I've spent a month and more, anywhere between 10 to 15 hours a week for the last month developing these processes. And the reason I'm doing that is so that I can remove myself from that process, and I can delegate that to a virtual assistant that I pay in the Philippines, for example, for $5 an hour, good wage. So now I can take an onboarding fee that I would, or setup fee that I would typically charge roughly $3,000 for, and I may be able to reduce that in half and still produce a really good return or revenue for my agency. But at the same time, I'm only paying, you know, a fraction of that out to have it done. And I have all of my time still. Does that make sense? So I can actually, and not only that, but because I have SOPs, I can also bring on more people to delegate to, so I can increase volume. In other words, I can take on more clients because it's not a finite amount of time that I have to invest into setup and onboarding, because I can just bring on more personnel to delegate additional work to, because the SOPs, the standard operating procedures, are there. So for me, I've been striving to do that so that I can reduce my onboarding rate or my setup fee, number one. Number two, I probably am going to be reducing my retainer, my monthly retainer fee as well. And I mentioned this in the Facebook group as my comment. There's a couple things I've been kicking around. One would be bring them on at a reduced initial rate, but get a pay, like a results-based pay increase or retainer increase based upon the type of results that I can, that I know that I'll be able to produce for them. So for example, it might be the first 3 months, or once we heard, first 3 months are at a certain rate, because that's typically about how long it takes for me to get significant results anyways, or some sort of threshold or milestone that gets hit, number of leads generated, traffic, number of traffic, whatever, traffic level or whatever. And then the rates go up from there. Or something that I just took on for the case study that I'm conducting in the mastermind, for my mastermind webinars. I recently brought on a new tree service contractor who's buying leads from me on a pay per lead basis at a discounted rate from my typical rates. But it's interesting because he's not paying me a monthly retainer. He's just paying me for leads, but I'm actually working on building his assets up. Well, his brand through my assets, but I'm building his brand up. And it's working really well. In fact, I'm turning really good revenue over from this new tree service contractor right now because of that. Just so you guys understand what I'm saying, meaning I'm building up his brand through my assets, through the domain, everything else that I purchased for his company, right? So in other words, I own the asset with his branding on it, and I'm building it up, and he's paying for the leads that are coming in on a pay per lead basis. So there's that, or there's, you know, another type of arrangement could be a revenue share, something like that, so that they understand that you're going to, your revenue is tied to their success. Does that make sense? So, and that's kind of how I'm going to be approaching it. First, being able to reduce my rates initially by removing myself from the process entirely, which will make my agency more efficient and more scalable to begin with. But then also, you know, giving them some sort of incentive to sign up with me so that I can start to show results and then increase my monthly retainer as a result of, you know, either certain milestones that are hit or a certain time frame or whatever the arrangement is. Or like I said, the pay per lead model where they're buying leads from me, even though I'm building their brand, instead of like going out and creating my own generic pseudo brands that are lead generation assets, or do some sort of revenue share model. If that makes sense. So that's personally how I'm going to be handling it. And again, I'll be talking a lot about this in the mastermind. That's specifically why I'm trying to systematize my agency processes right now, so that you know, I can scale and I can share it with the rest of the mastermind members as well. So I'm anxious to hear what some of you guys are doing. Hernan?
Yeah, I really like that approach, Bradley, because kind of it takes the burden out of the business owner, right? When it comes to, you know, paying you a monthly retainer for your services, and some of these guys might be coming out pretty beat up after this, you know, this situation, this economy or whatever. Some of them might be right on top, but some of them might be coming up pretty beaten up. So I think that having some sort of either revenue share or success model embedded in the you know, in your retainer, maybe charge a little bit less, but then you have some sort of either revenue share or profit share, or, you know, in my case, I run ads, so it makes sense to have some sort of profit share after ad spend. And that makes sense because it helps business owners like understand that they can, you know, they can actually pay you while the business is going back to where it was before. So having some sort of success, and then it sets you up for success as well, because if you really hit a home run, then you will end up getting paid a lot more than just your retainer, right? Which is the whole point. So I really like that. I really like that idea of kind of, you know, making it like a no-brainer, taking out all of the risk from the table, and then it helps you getting creative with the way you're structuring your deals. And also, you know, I would definitely consider hiring somebody to do most of the grunt work while you are effectively focused on, you know, the high level stuff or the creative stuff, right? But then the rest you can systematize it, you can do processes and all of that. So I really agree with, I really like what you're doing there. So
Chris?
Yeah, on my end, I would probably spend a little bit time having a discussion. Usually it doesn't take longer than 30 minutes. And ask where the bottlenecks were. Like, for example, if it's just a physical store and they didn't have like an e-com store or something online set up, they could have made sales that way. So like in best case, I can refer them to somebody and get a cut out of that as well a little bit, and help them to get set up. So in case something else happens that is similar to that, or a second or third wave might happen. I hope it's not, but like, you never know. They are prepared, you know, and they don't have to shut down completely, but they can still get sales and stuff. The rest, I pretty much agree with what has been said already.
Marco?
This is really interesting. I mean, I really like this question. Like, how do you restore buyers' confidence in themselves? That's a difficult one, because you're talking about how do you get into that person's head and talk to them about their ability to make good buying decisions. All you can do is establish confidence and good rapport between you and the client. I mean, that's what'll take care of this. Having that confidence in you that you can produce the results that you say you're going to get. Guy's going to drop a bundle on you, whether it's 500, it's a bundle to a lot of people, or 50,000, that's a bundle to other people. It's all relative. That ton of money, that bundle of money is relative to the person that's spending the money. If you can show that person that they can have confidence in you because you're going to produce results, either you've gotten results before and you can just show it, you can just go in. I talked to a prominent attorney last week with a couple other guys that I'm working on a project, and I talked to a guy who's dropping a bunch of money. We're talking millions of dollars in Google Ads, and wants to turn his focus elsewhere. And so what I'm going to charge these two people, this attorney and this guy who's doing the Google Ads and wants to go after the niche another way, is well, you're going to have to pay me. Like it doesn't matter at this point if it's a local client who's having a hard time because he hasn't done a tree service job, let's say in 4, 5, 6 months. I understand that. The way that I'm doing is I'm already dropping prices. For example, I have a couple of attorneys I'm already helping whose call volume dropped. And so I did drop the fee while this goes on. As soon as it opens up, I know it's going to be a train wreck. People are going to go crazy. Accidents are going to start to happen again. Calls are going to come back. And so the fees go back up. And they go back up not only to where they formerly were, but they will also increase by a percentage to make up for the break that I gave them, because they're gonna make again a bundle of money. Same thing with the new attorney that I'm taking on. We might bring him in at a reduced fee initially, but then as things they gain traction and people I hate to say it, but people start having massive accidents again. It's a bunch of money, and so this is all to me, right? The way that I'm looking at this, it's whether you can instill that confidence in your ability to produce the results that these people are going to need moving forward. And that's a conversation that you need to have with that person, whether it's a phone call, whether it's that one-on-one once this thing clears up, and letting that person know that I'm the person that can get you the results that you want. I mean, all of us have had that conversation with a client. Yeah, I know that you've been screwed by other SEO agencies. I'm not that SEO agency. Here, call these people. They can vouch for me. Or you came to me because someone referred you to me because I got them results. So you already know. There's a pre-confidence, let's call it, already established to some extent. Now you can either screw that up or work with it and close the deal. How you close that deal? Well, Bradley, Hernan, and Chris have given you guys some really good ideas. I don't generally take local clients at that price, but if that's what it took, if it took bringing somebody in at a reduced rate, and then as volume increases, your monthly fee is totally tied to that percentage increase, then I'm totally for that. It's not the way that I'm doing, because I don't really do it at that hyper local level. I don't focus on that. But I can totally see your point of view and how you would do it. And at the same time, I can also see it just totally going in there and convincing that person that you're the person to be trusted with their livelihood, because that's what it is.
Adam, your last one.
Yeah, one more thing. Prices will go up anyways. Like just seeing about like all the money that has been given out and like the break that businesses said. So you can definitely expect that like after things are working again, that there will be a price increase.
Yeah.
Because the purchasing power is less on the money.
So Wayne, yeah, I agree. Good question. And I'm going to talk more about the consulting agency side of things, not the buyer confidence side directly. For that, I think, I'm not an economist, maybe an armchair one. And all I can say is, I know myself, and I know people have different sides or different feelings about this. My gut feeling is, I can only speak to what I'm going to do. And I know I'm not going to be spending more money than usual in the near future, right? To me, that goes against what I believe is safe and good for me and my loved ones. And I think a lot of people think that, but again, that's just me. That's not Adam's verified theory or anything. So what I'll do is lean back. I think something that we talked a lot about at POFU Live, Hernan's talked about it a lot, Bradley has, but branding yourself more than ever. That's something I'm focusing on, and I got this started slowly over the last few months, and now it's really built up steam in the sense that like it's something I'm focusing more on. And I see that there's several reasons why for myself. It's one, you're helping yourself while at the same time you get to help others, and you can do this in any niche, any industry, at any level. I don't do local generally. But I mean, of course you can help others locally, right? You know, if you're doing local marketing, you could be doing local marketing meetups on Zoom. You could be helping the local builders as they begin, you know, needing to start prospecting again if they've been on restrictions. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff you can do. I'm not going to beat a dead horse there. Obviously, videos right now are really important. And again, if you can, once things are safe again, in person or doing Zoom calls. And I also look at this as a good time to find out what you and me really like doing. You know, if you enjoy teaching others about it, maybe that's something you could move more into. And like who you really like, start building up that prospecting engine, even if it's already in place. Just kind of, you know, streamlining it, doing whatever you can, and looking at what you really want to focus on moving forward. So that's something that I'm taking very seriously, and I want to get that going, because that it can be at times, it feels like a heavy flywheel to get moving. But once you start that moving, you just keep doing a little bit from time to time consistently, and that really starts paying off. Secondly, Bradley talked about this, so did Hernan, but streamlining your operations. And like Bradley said, just once per week, I really do, you know, I think everyone should do this. Once per week, ask yourself what you can automate, delegate, or delete. Just set a time and do it. Write it down on a scrap of paper. This doesn't have to be rocket science, right? But you've got to set that time aside. And if it works, like I think it will, then keep doing it. If not, you know, this isn't some set in stone rule. If it's not working for you, don't do it. But, you know, for 99% of the people out there, I guarantee you this is going to be a potential game changer for you. And then last but not least, I love this quote. I did an interview with a guy named Matt Barnett. He's a founder of Bonjoro, which is an app that Bradley introduced me to. And he said, you know, automate the process, not the relationship. And I think we're seeing that even more now that people are having to work remotely. You know, automating as much of the process as you can, but then really building those relationships as business owners, as consultants, as agency owners. That's been important. And I mean, Bonjoro is a tool. And if there's another tool, I'll use it. But I just use this as the example. That has been a game changer for me, down to like the tactical level. Like it's fun because it helps build the relationship. But a great example is earlier this morning, I had approved a call. And when that happens, I get the Bonjoro notification. It pops up, hey, Adam, send a video to so-and-so. I recorded it. I had seen what they said. I approved their message. And I was like, you know, hey, it's Adam. I'm looking forward to talking tomorrow. You know, it's really me. You know, if you got any other background information on your project, let me know. You know, I'd really like to make the most of our call. It sounds like you got something interesting here. And they had given me a real short description like most people do when they fill out forms. I send that off. I get back a 4-page email from this guy. And he's got just this really interesting project, all of the juicy details. He told me what he liked about his vendors. He told me what he fucking hated about his vendors. He's telling me, you know, just under the hood, you know, all the details. And, you know, all that took me was literally 20 seconds. So I think that, again, going back to that, automating the process, not the relationship. So I can put that 20 seconds in, it's real. And the rest of it's taken care of for me, which nobody cares about anyways. Nobody cares that there's a program that sent the email. They just care that I cared enough to, you know, say hi and ask them what's really going on.
So you mean to tell me that video emails work to wow your prospects and then ultimately your clients as well?
It's true. And it has a very high engagement rate, weirdly enough.
That's funny. Yeah, I'm telling you guys, that's how I primarily communicate with all of my clients. I mean, I do jump on the phone with them occasionally and we chat back and forth via email, but almost every month I'm sending a video email to my clients, just going over their monthly reports. And again, it's the same product we sell, guys. It's the same method. You know, we practice what we preach, video lead gen system. That's how I do all my prospecting. And it works really well. And that starts the whole, like it builds rapport without us even conversing, right? Does that make sense? A video email, you can literally build rapport with a prospect before you've ever communicated with them in real time. And so again, I also use video emails for communicating with prospects after, or clients once they become clients. And they love it. I've gotten so many comments over the years now from clients that say that they love that because they know what's going on at all times. And it's like Adam said, I'm building that relationship. Even if we're not literally talking back and forth, it's still building that rapport because it's like they get to know me and all that other kind of stuff. It works really well. And the other part of that is that, I talk about this in 2X Your Agency. What Adam just said is when you're also prospecting, you got to think about it, guys. Like so much of the sales training out there is sales training about how to sell a product or a service. And it's almost like a one and done. Like that's why there's hard closings, like hard closing techniques that people try to teach you in sales programs and all this other shit. And I found that it usually pushes people away. For the type of services that we sell as digital marketers, we're selling a relationship, not a product or a service. Yes, there's a product or a service attached to the relationship, but the thing is we're going to be intimately involved with their business, and we have to develop that relationship and that rapport with the business owner or our point of contact at the business in order for us to create that relationship that's going to be long lasting, if that makes sense, because we're going to be communicating with them on a regular basis, and we are tied to the success of their business. It's really important to develop that relationship strong up front, that strong rapport up front, and also to maintain that relationship. So I totally agree with what Adam just said. All right, so we can jump on the next question. That was a fantastic question, Wayne. Thank you for that. Let me get to the next one. Okay, this one's from the free Facebook group as well, from Cliff. He says, what's the difference between the Battle Plan 4.0 and 2X Your Agency? Well, the Battle Plan 4.0 is like how to get results with building up an entity and how to get results with search, Google search primarily. It's basically a step-by-step plan for how to get results with any type of web project. Does that make sense? 2X Your Agency is about how to build your agency and how to grow your agency, and how to, again, scale it. Prospecting and sales is part one. Part two is how to get reliable, consistent, repeatable results without you having to do all the work. And part three of 2X Your Agency training is all about how to scale your operation. And so there's a big difference between Battle Plan and 2X Your Agency. Battle Plan is about how to get results with a particular online or web project. 2X Your Agency is how to build, grow, and scale your agency without doing all the work yourself. So anybody want to comment on that?
Oh, that was perfect.
Okay. Mohammed's up. What's up, Mohammed? He says, hey guys, a car dealer client of mine has been getting a new website built and they're just about to push it live to the domain. On your guys' advice, I made sure they would perform proper redirects from the old links. Beyond that, is there anything I should do once the new website goes live? I have a power shield in place for this client, and I just bought a few MGYB link building and embed orders aimed at the ID page, RYS, and GMB. Do I keep going as usual, seeing as the domain is the same? Yeah, as far as I know, the only other thing I might do would be to do a site, domain change or whatever. And you know how you can, in Search Console, you can tell Google that the new site is over here. If that's what, is it the same domain or push it live? No, it looks like it's the same. It's on the same domain. So yeah, I can't see anything else. Marco, do you have anything else for him?
No, I don't see anything else other than once this is all done and once the link building has cycled through that first time, you'll take a look at the data, see where the money is. I mean, you've been at this long enough, Mohammed, now to understand where the money is in that niche. And you might have to isolate the top market level keyword for that category in the niche. And then it's just adding an inner page to the G site, inner drive stack, with a corresponding inner site, money site page, excuse me. And then pushing power to that to rank everything in the niche. And yes, it's that simple, but it's not easy.
That's it. Next question from Mohammed says, regarding local business or organization schema, the ad ID page or the ad ID designation should always be the ID page, right? Yes. And actually, it's not supposed to change. It's supposed to be like, in other words, where you point to should remain consistent. Now, don't get me wrong. When I'm starting a new project, as I'm waiting for the ID page to be built, for example, I might use the main website URL as the ID page so that I can get the main site up and the structured data and stuff like that. But typically, once you have the asset in place, the ID page, you can change the elements on the ID page, but it should always point to the same URI, right? At least that's my understanding of it. Do I have that right, Marco?
Yeah, that's what Google says, but it's not necessarily so because you can have multiple ad IDs. And no, it doesn't necessarily have to be the ad ID page. It doesn't have to be the S3. It could be an organization page on your website. That's the ad ID, Mohammed, again, it's simply an identifier of where your company's information is, right? Where this organization is and everything related to the organization. And then the entity loops, what it simply does is it catches the bot in everything related to the organization, which is your syndication network, your drive stack, your G-site, GMB, anything related. You can even include citations in there. But no, it doesn't have to be. Should it be? No, because okay, once you said it, Bradley is right. Google's recommendation is you leave it, but you can have multiple ad IDs. You can identify multiple nodes. That's all you're doing. Let's call them places, so people don't like misinterpret what a node is. Different places that are being identified as places where you can find information about this organization or this local business.
Yeah, I've got, I know that my screen is paused because I'm trying to dig into something for it in Google Ads for a minute to show one of the upcoming questions, guys. Just stand by 1 minute. It's a question coming up on Google Ads that I want to share something with. Stand by just a minute, guys. I typically don't do this on Hump Day Hangouts, but it's a great question, and I want to show this. Stand by 1 minute, I promise. Okay. Yeah, this will work. All right, let me start the screen share again. Get rid of that. All right. All right, sorry about that. We'll come back to that when we get to it. All right, so this one, BB, what's up, BB? He's here every week now asking multiple questions. That's funny. All right, so he says, hey guys, can I post on 2 different silos? Don't. It should be in one silo. You should really only, if your keyword research is done right and you structure your silos properly, a post should only go in one silo, right? Whatever is the most appropriate silo, keyword set. Does that make sense? Now, if there's some reason or another that you'd want to direct a reader, a visitor, somebody that's looking at the content to, another silo or another post within a silo, another page within another silo, you can do that with just an internal link. Just no follow the link. But you don't want to put the same post in 2 different silos. That's 2 different categories, right? And that it doesn't really make sense to do so. And it also causes some funky things in WordPress when you do that. So I don't recommend it. Does anybody else have anything else to say about that?
Yeah, no, it's a no.
Okay. Number 2, should the branded properties have SameAs attribute like the money site? If you can inject structured data into them, yeah, you can. Because remember, you can use the same schema type, whether it's local business, organization, corporation, whatever it is, you can use the same schema type in your Web 2s as well. So for example, just like Muhammad was asking in the previous question, your ID page could, if you're using local business structured data, for example, the ID designation could be pointing to wherever you placed your ID page. And that would be the same no matter what local business structured data or schema was on any one of your Web 2s for the ones that you can add that to. Not all of them you can do. Most of them you can't actually, unless Marco knows how to a way to hack it in that I'm unaware of. For most Web 2s, you're not able to actually add structured data. But when you can, yes, you can add that in as well.
But you'd have to have access to the HTML, right, to be able to do that?
The HTML header mainly too, right?
Yeah, and be careful because you want to create the parent-child relationship, but you don't want to do it the opposite way. You don't want your T1 branded to in any way be taken as the parent and something else to be the child, because then you created a lot of confusion, and you don't want to do that. Not at the code level, guys. Don't mess with the code unless you know what you're doing.
Number 3, can you show example when it's necessary to use a complex silo? Well, yeah, I mean, for example, is a great one. One of our mastermind members was talking, I'm not going to name any names, but was talking about a glass repair company. And they were asking about, how to structure silos on a glass repair company for a glass repair company website. And they had auto glass, residential glass, commercial glass. But then underneath, so that would be top level category. So that would be, if it was a simple silo structure, it would be posts directly underneath each one of those categories, right? So that would be the category / post structure, which is a simple silo structure, meaning it only goes 2 levels deep in the silo itself. But for example, under, I don't know, residential glass repair, being one silo, the top level silo. So that if you're going to do a for various, subcategories underneath that silo. So for example, residential glass repair, they could have window repair, sliding glass door door installation, glass door installation, right? So those could each be subcategories of residential glass repair. Does that make sense? So each one of those, now, for example, like, window repair, that could be a subcategory, and then you could add posts underneath that, right? So you could add depth to the window repair subcategory, which is ultimately part of the residential glass repair primary category or top level category, excuse me. Does that make sense? So for example, and then like maybe glass installation, residential glass installation, and then you could have as posts, right, to add depth to that, which residential glass installation could be a subcategory of residential glass repair. I'm just using that as an example. I don't know that niche, so I'm kind of pulling this out of the air. But you could have window installation or glass door installation, sliding door installation, French door installations. That makes sense. Each one of those could be individual posts to add depth to that particular subcategory. Okay, so that's just an example. Does meta refresh redirect? Does meta refresh redirect is considered a backlink? Yes, from the original source. Yeah. So if you redirect a URL through a redirect to whatever your target is, it will pick up as a backlink. Is that correct? Anybody want to?
No, it's a response code. All of 301, 302, 308, 400, 500. It's a response code. It's an interaction in HTTP.
No, but okay. The way that I understood the question.
Hang on a second. Anything linking to that page that's being 301 would be considered the links. But the meta refresh and the 301 and 302, those are simply response codes. They're not backlinks.
Right. No. And right. I get that. But I thought he was asking if you redirect something to it, does the redirect become a backlink? So the original URL that is redirected does become a backlink. Yes. That's what I was answering. But yes, you're right. A meta refresh or a redirect is not a backlink. It's just a redirect or a HTTP header code. Tom Ciaz says, if this isn't the right form for this question, please direct me to the appropriate place. Okay, this is the question I was going to show you, Tom. He says, I purchased your YouTube ads training being a complete novice to ads. Fantastic course, by the way. Thank you, Tom. He says, any advice on running ads for lawyer lead gen videos? For example, how would you go about putting ads in front of people who need a divorce attorney? Okay, well, Tom, if you go through the entire training, you should know that you can use in-market audiences, which is what I highly recommend, or custom intent audiences. So what I did was I pulled open one of my, or my Google Ads account here just to show you, for example, if you come into, let's go to browse. And if you look at in-market, life event, and custom intent audiences, now I'm looking at a display campaign. Display and YouTube ads have very similar audiences, in-market audiences. There are some slight differences, but they're very, very similar. Okay. So I'm looking at the display campaign right now, but if we could take a look at in-market, life events, and custom intent, you can go into in-market audiences and you can look for business services, maybe look for legal. I don't know if they have a separate one for legal, but you could look for business services maybe and see if there's something in there for legal. My point is go through the different in-market audiences. Preferably I'd start there and see, and again, there's a lot of them. So you just have to start clicking through the different categories and then clicking down the drop downs to expand them and see if you can find one for lawyers. I don't do anything for lawyers. So I was just hoping to find an in-market audience for lawyers, and there very well may be, but I'm not going to click through all of these. I just wanted to point out that this is where you would start. Try to find an in-market audience, because then you can set your geographic targeting and you can select an in-market audience to where that only the people that are going to see your ad are only going to be people that are specifically in the geographic area that you set, your targeted locations, as well as Google has determined that they're in market for lawyer services or for, attorney services, whatever. So I would start there. If you can't find one, create a custom intent audience. So again, and all the custom intent audiences, and I can't go too deep into it, but is go develop a really robust keyword list of all of the types of keywords that somebody that would be in need of that type of attorney would be searching for. And that becomes the keyword list that you add to a custom intent audience. Then you can also, well, for YouTube, you can't do used URLs, but for the display network, you can also go out and grab like competitor URLs and like legal type advice, websites where they talk about, the process of personal injury law or something like that. You could grab URLs like that, even YouTube video URLs that talk about these things, and put them in the custom intent audience list as well, because that's the criteria that Google uses. Essentially, when you create a custom intent audience, what you're doing is you're creating a bucket that you want Google to fill with people that meet the criteria that you set up with your targeting criteria through the custom intent audience. So if you grab a bunch of keywords that people would be searching for, and then, engaging with content that satisfies or answers those types of queries, you put those types of search queries or keywords, essentially phrases, into the custom intent audience. And then Google says, okay, this person, in your case, what was your name? Tom? Yeah, Tom wants a bucket of people that are actively or recently engaging with content around these types of keywords or this type of content, right? And so it will automatically start to fill that bucket, so to speak, with people that meet that criteria within a specific geographic, if it's for local, within a specific target geographic area, and they are known to Google as having a recent interest, right, in that particular, that type of content, which means they're likely in market for that, and that's their custom intent. Does that make sense? So, and it works well, but it's not, if you're going to use a custom intent audience, unlike life event or in market audiences where Google already knows that they're in market for those, with a custom intent, it takes a little while for the ad campaign to learn, right? It uses machine learning, AI, and such that when you first set it up, you're probably going to have some shitty results. Don't worry about it. Let the ads run, and the machine learning will take over and will start to refine the targeting to where it gets better and better, if that makes sense. So just, again, custom intent audiences work really, really well. I've been testing them a lot over the last few months, and they work really well, but they take a little bit of time for them to mature, for the machine learning to kind of really learn through what you said as the criteria. It's a good question. Now, anybody else want to comment on that? How about you, Hernan? You do a lot of stuff with ads. He might be busy. Okay, I'm going to keep moving. Any advice? Okay, wait a minute. For example, how would you go about putting ads in front? Yeah, I already answered that. Since Google doesn't allow negative life event targeting, I couldn't see an obvious way to target their audience like you did in the training. Okay, yeah, again, use custom intent audiences then. That's the best way to do it. And with YouTube, you can only add keywords, at least for now, which is fine. And more equals better. In other words, but more as long as they're relevant. So don't use more general or broad keywords that that aren't specifically relevant to the type of project you're trying to, the people that you're trying to target, because that will skew your results and give you less, your ads won't perform as well, in other words. So you want to build a really robust keyword list for YouTube ads that are specifically around that particular, and remember, put yourself in the shoes of somebody that would be in need of did you say it was personal injury attorney, whatever, and divorce attorney, excuse me. Put yourself in the shoes of somebody going through a divorce that's looking for an attorney, and try to think of it that way and develop a keyword list based around that. Does that make sense? And it works really well. Okay, next, BB's up again. On YouTube syndication for the branded network, is it okay to use the description in the recipe? No, I don't recommend that. YouTube and RSS of Money site gets syndicated there. So you mean the description in the recipe? You mean take the YouTube video description and syndicate that out? It depends on how the blanket statement, I'm going to say no, because as soon as I say, yeah, it's okay to do that, people are going to go out, and I've seen a lot of people's YouTube descriptions that are absolutely spammy as can be, because they put a big block of keywords, or they put a shit ton of external links and all of that kind of stuff in their video description. That's fine. If you want to spam your video description on YouTube, it's okay. It's perfectly fine. But when you start to syndicate your description out to the networks, if it's a real spammy description, then it's likely that those accounts, the Web 2.0 accounts that you're syndicating to, get terminated. How do I know that? Because I've had it happen many, many times, which is specifically why we developed the recipes or the applets and ifttt the way that we did. Because when you're just syndicating the video itself and perhaps a link back to the video or to a playlist or to a channel or a combination of those, then it's fine. It's very rare that I've ever had a Web 2 terminated from that type of a syndicated description, or from the applet. In other words, the description that the applet publishes. But in the past, when I've done full YouTube video description syndication along with the video, I've had many, many times Web 2.0 accounts shut down, and it's mainly because the video description was a bit spammy. So just be careful. If you're going to syndicate the YouTube description, just be sure that the video description is not spammy, doesn't contain a shit ton of external links and all that kind of stuff. Okay. Let's see. Number 2, is there a faster way to write a press release for a new post? Yeah, have us do it. I mean, I don't know what you're asking there. You know, whenever my bloggers publish a post that's going to be also promoted through a press release, they just go submit the press release or the details for the blog post through MGYB, basically, and the press release writers write the press release. None of us write our own press releases, and I don't encourage any of you to do that. So I don't know what else to tell you on that one. Can someone use Fiverr gigs? Can we just copy 500 from the words for the new post and that's it? No, you can't do that. I don't know of any. Well, you could probably find some PR distribution services that would allow you to do that, but we won't. In fact, we won't even take a press release from self-written press releases. They have to be written by the press release writers at Press Advantage. And we do that intentionally because they know how to get the best results from the content that syndicates through their distribution network. Okay, so I would highly encourage you allow the press release, whatever press release distribution service you're using probably has a press release writing service. Most all of them do now. Let those writers do the writing for you. Okay. Can someone use Fiverr gigs or SEO clerks for building links to the RYS and ifttt properties? Again, you can. We don't recommend it, but you can. So he says he's needing non-English spam links. Marco, what do you say about that?
Yeah, it's like, I haven't done it. And so, yeah, we've used Fiverr gigs before, but that's just to test drive sites and G sites. They take it like a champ. I wouldn't throw it at my tier 1 branded. I'm not doing that because it's just, it's not going to look, well, it's your brand. Why would you want to spam your brand? I know that we call the drive site and G site part of your T1 branded, but it's not really. That's tier 2. It's tier 2 links coming into everything that you're doing, everything else. And then we filter everything through that tier 2, which brings in traffic. It brings in a whole lot of activity, relevance, stress, and authority, which that makes it de facto T1. It's just, it's not really by rule. It's not a T1. It's just a de facto T1, right? By fact or because of the use. And so understanding that, why would you want to spam your tier 1 branded properties? If you're going to try to test, do it with the drive site and G site in between everything, and you should be okay.
There you go. Okay, BB, we're going to move on because we only got 2 more minutes, and those were too many questions again. But I do want to answer: can we develop, or is it in the pipeline of packages at MGYB to non-English sites? No, it's not, and we will not. We don't plan on doing that. That's not even for future plans, is it, Marco?
No, the demand has to be there, and we see these one-offs every once in a while. If we saw them often, then we'd say, okay, there's a demand for it. We need to meet the demand, or we need to find a way. But it's not even at that stage where we're considering finding a way.
Okay, Rob's up says, besides the battle plan, do any of your items or trainings contain step-by-step SOPs? Yeah, the mastermind is where I share SOPs all the time. But to be clear, guys, I share my standard operating procedures, but they're specific to my agency. I mean, there's some things that are generic enough that they can be applied to, your own business as well. And I share those in the mastermind all the time because I get requests like that in the mastermind. That's what the mastermind's for, by the way, for that kind of stuff. but for example, all the agency processes that I've been working diligently on for the last month, really about 6 weeks, but for the last month, I've really put a lot of effort into it, and time and such. You know, I'm sharing those with the mastermind members, but again, they're specific to my processes, and it's more or less to share so that you guys have the mastermind members, I mean, have a template or a, you know, a guide, essentially something that they can use to build their own processes. I don't expect my processes for my agency to work for your business, but I do share them so that other people have like kind of a template that they can go out and develop their own processes. The problem is, even when I share my processes, I know, you know, eight out of 10 people that I share them with in the, you know, even in the mastermind, they look at them and they're like, oh, this is awesome, but they never actually, you know, use them or build their own processes, or at least my understanding is it's very rare. There's only a few people that I know that actually really fully develop SOPs. And that's where the bottleneck is for the most part, guys. It's a lot of work developing SOPs. It really is. It's a ton of work. And that's why most people don't do it. But once it's done, especially if you do them very detailed, and I love process.st, process street. In fact, I've got it open right here in my tab because I was working on that earlier today again. But you can, once you develop really intricate processes, you can delegate even the most complex of tasks. In other words, you can outsource it, because as long as your processes, your SOPs are detailed enough, you can take anything that you think, well, I don't want to say anything, because some things do require judgment, analysis, you know, that kind of stuff that only comes with experience. But for the most part, even things that are really complex can be delegated with a proper SOP, right? And so again, I share mine in the mastermind often. When people request things, I will often create them, but they're specific to my business. And I always want to disclaim that right up front, just to say, look, you know, I'll give you an example, but you're going to have to obviously customize it specific for your own business. Okay.
All right. So
last question.
So yeah, hang on a second, but because we're missing something that's really big here. Our training is step-by-step over-the-shoulder video. Mm-hmm. And then you should be developing your own processes from those videos to apply to whatever it is that you're doing. Some of the training is as simple as get a VA in there to reproduce whatever's being done, and that's it. In fact, RYS Academy and RYS Academy Reloaded, the VAs, that's their training. Go watch the videos, build me a drive stack, then we'll discuss the drive stack to see where it is that you went off, where it is that maybe you improved it, because that happens also. Mm-hmm. And so then that goes into the training, that goes into the videos. So there's always an improvement process, but it all starts with that over-the-shoulder training, so that you don't have to go through all these intricacies that you often have to go through by building an SOP. Should you build one? Yes, by all means. But start with the over-the-shoulder training so that you can do your own.
All right, the last question, because we're actually a little bit over, but we'll answer this and then we'll wrap it up. He says, if my focus is local SEO, there are so many items known to contribute to local SEO, such as citations, map embeds, driving directions, geotagged images, press releases, Google Stacks, etc. Can anyone prioritize what items provide the biggest boost that should be done on every site, as opposed to items that can be left off and only completed for tougher competition? Yeah, and I would say, and I'm curious to hear what Marco's response is, but I would say on page, entity, build the entity, which the SEO shield is all about. So make sure your on page is tight. SEO shield, so all the entity assets, right? Connect all your entity assets the way that we teach. And then it's the ongoing external stuff or off page stuff like link building, embeds and link building mainly. Content marketing is what I consider part of on page, but it's also part of off page because of syndication. And also with press releases, I consider that content marketing, but that's really an external source that's building links back to the entity or entity assets. So again, for me, it's on-page SEO, the SEO shield. So that's essentially establishing and building up the entity. And then it's a matter of link building, embed gigs, and consistent content marketing. That's, and a lot of my local projects, we don't build citations. It depends on how the GMB was created. If it was a spam GMB listing, we don't do citations and we still get ranked. So citations aren't absolutely critical. If it's a valid GMB location, you can absolutely and should build citations. But if it's not, I omit that. So what do you say, Marco?
At the local level, you have to have schema in there. You have to get that schema in there. That's part of your own page. If you're not doing that, then you're just like the rest of the competition, which most people will ignore. That's how to get a leg up. If you do it right, So that's part of your, if your SEO is right and your entity's tight, then everything else comes on off page. And part of your entity, of course, is built off page, ad ID, drive stack, G site, and the companion syndication network. Well, that's all bundled for you. So then maybe the only thing that's necessary after that would be press releases and link building, embeds and link building, which then that's what works the magic. That's what brings everything, all of the power into whatever it is that you're trying to do, and you pop it into the 3-pack.
Sweet. Well, thanks everybody for being here. We will see you guys next week. Don't forget to go pick up Battle Plan 4.0.
See you, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks, guys.